Hey, welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another video. As you know, I've been slowly going through Taylor Swift's discography, and as we await the next album, which is coming out in a little bit less than a month, I am working on some things that are related to the last album that I've been working on, which was Lover. Things that I'm working on with that is the Paris concert, and then the documentary, which I've yet to record. So there's a couple more things coming before we're fully done with the Lover album, but something before I got into Lover, I believe it was, I was doing some things to fill some gaps before the next album. Oh, it was 1989. And something that came up a couple times was watching Taylor Swift's NYU graduation speech, just to hear her talk and explain the experiences that she's gone through in the last couple years. So I wanted to get into that today just because it is some extra content for you guys. So we're going to be listening to her commencement speech, and then kind of reacting to that, and then as you know, I do extended versions of my videos on Patreon, and I know these two things don't coordinate really very much together, but there is a very short additional song from Lover that never made it. It's called Need. It's only about a minute-long clip, so I'm not acting like it's the most exclusive thing ever, but I am going to react to that on my Patreon just because I don't know if it's enough for a full video anyway. So it's going to be tacked on to the end of the commencement speech, so if you happen to be interested in that, you're welcome to check out the Need reaction on Patreon. But if not, today we're just going to get into that graduation speech, so let's just get straight into it. Alright, so we're going to start to the point where she starts talking. So that is skipping the first 4 minutes, but it's not really skipping anything. It was more just like an introduction to announcing that Taylor Swift was like their honorary doctorate recipient. So we're not missing much, so please don't be angry, but we're gonna start where Taylor Swift starts.
The honorary degree recipient.
I'm Taylor.
The classic hello. She does that at every tour too.
Last time I was in a stadium this size, I was dancing in heels and wearing a glittery leotard. This outfit is much more comfortable. I would like to say a huge thank you to NYU's chairman of the board of trustees, Bill Berkeley, and all the trustees and members of the board, NYU's President Andrew Hamilton, Provost Catherine Fleming, and the faculty and alumni here today who have made this day possible. I feel so proud to share this day with my fellow honorees, Susan Hockfield and Felix Matos Rodriguez, who humble me with the ways they improve our world with their work. As for me, I'm 90% sure the main reason I'm here is because I have a song called 22.
I already like that she's making a little bit more light of her situation, just because, don't get me wrong, I think Taylor has been a trailblazer in almost everything that she does, and honestly, her songwriting should be studied, and I think it even is studied now in certain colleges. Maybe not in NYU, I'm not exactly sure, but I have definitely seen articles where they have started like songwriting or even like the business aspect of Taylor Swift's career to be studied because it has been such an extraordinary journey. So I definitely think that she is deserving of this, but I can also see her making a little bit more lighter of the situation because while she does deserve it, I think she clearly knows, and all of us know, that there are some people that are making a little bit more contributions to the world that are receiving these doctorates. So I think it's nice that she's going in with the gratitude, but also aware of saying that her situation is not necessarily the same as the other people who have worked for these degrees and, you know, have been their own trailblazers in their own right as well.
And let me just say, I am elated to be here with you today as we celebrate and graduate New York University's class of 2022. Not a single one of us here today has done it alone. We are each a patchwork quilt of those who have loved us, those who have believed in our futures, those who showed us empathy and kindness, or told us the truth, even when it wasn't easy to hear. Those who told us we could do it when there was absolutely no proof of that. Someone read stories to you and taught you to dream and offered up some moral code of right and wrong for you to try and live by. Someone tried their best to explain every concept in this insanely complex world to the child that was you as you asked a bazillion questions like, how does the moon work? And why can we eat salad but not grass?
I love how like each little nugget of wisdom so far has come with its own like joke almost. It's like she's almost doing a little bit of comedy here. But another thing that I think is interesting of what she just said is it's so true in the sense of a lot of things do take a community, and especially something like college. Like she said, you might not have someone that's necessarily in your corner or that's like pushing you every single day. Some people are lucky enough to have that, but at the end of the day, some people that are even very lonely on their journey to these things, it's still, most people do have a person in their life that just keeps them going. Even if it's for their own, not selfish needs, but even sometimes it's people who maybe don't have anyone in their corner, but it's the people that rely on them. So like I think of in the sense of like people that maybe have children and they're going back to school or whatever their situation is. It isn't always college, but here it is. You know, maybe they're just trying to get into a better situation for the people that rely on them. So regardless of who you have in your corner, it feels like no matter what, you're never walking through any of these paths alone. There may be some lonely moments, of course, and you're at the end of the day are the only ones that's going to, you know, buckle down and get this work done. But at the same time, someone in your life has pushed you to the right things that you are doing with your life.
And maybe they didn't do it perfectly. No one ever can. Maybe they aren't with us anymore. In that case, I hope you'll remember them today. If they are in this stadium, I hope you'll find your own way to express your gratitude for all the steps and missteps that have led us to this common destination.
Nice.
I know that words are supposed to be my thing, but I will never be able to find the words to thank my mom and dad, my brother Austin, for the sacrifices they made every day so I could go from singing in coffee houses to standing up here with you all today, because no words would ever be enough.
That is also very true. I don't even need to know everything about her situation, but it takes a village in a lot of things, in a lot of ways, for people raising a child, going through college. But specifically in her situation, there's no doubt about it that a lot of people have had to make sacrifices. And I do think at the end of the day, they do get to reap a return of that. I'm not saying it's all about money, but like, you know, this has clearly proven to be successful. And I think everyone in her life has been able to find some positivity, of course, out of the situation. But it feels like it's just acknowledging that it didn't come from a place of realizing that you made other people have to change their life in order for you to have the best one that you can have. And I think that's oftentimes the things that, you know, it's not everyone's parent situation, but for the most part, it feels like that is the essential duty of a parent, is to, when it comes down to it, make the sacrifices that matter in order to put your kid in a better situation. Because I think at the end of the day, everyone can think about opportunities that they weren't allowed to have, and all, maybe this is an opinion of mine, but I don't have children, but if I did, I think like, I feel very privileged in the things that I've gotten in my life. I feel like my family has really gotten me into a lot of different places because of their support. But even the very few things that I can still say that I didn't get opportunities afforded to me, I think those are the things that you do carry with you for future generations, just to say like, you know, I hope that I can give you every opportunity that I had in my life, and then the ones that I didn't, I hope that I can get to a point where I can provide you with something that I was never able to have, because at the end of the day, you always want better for the next person, or I think that's most people's perspective. So I do like that she is trying to really buckle down on that and say like, you know, be thankful for the people that have maybe quietly made the sacrifices in your life, because you don't always appreciate those little things that they might have done, where you might not think they're very big, but they really have made a lot in order to get you where you were. So I think that's really already very, like, she's killing this low-key.
To all the incredible parents, family members, mentors, teachers, allies, friends, and loved ones here today who have supported these students in their pursuit of educational enrichment. Let me say to you now, welcome to New York. It's been waiting for you.
Of course she had the song reference.
I'd like to thank NYU for making me, technically, on paper at least, a doctor.
I wonder what it's a doctorate in. I guess
Not
English.
the type of doctor you would want around in case of an emergency. Unless your specific emergency was that you desperately needed to hear a song with a catchy hook and an intensely cathartic bridge section.
At least she knows. She's well aware of like the things that she brings to that table.
Or if your emergency was that you needed a person who can name over 50 breeds of cats in 1 minute. I never got to have a normal college experience per se. I went to public high school until 10th grade and then finished my education doing homeschool work on the floors of airport terminals. Then I went out on the road for radio tour, which sounds incredibly glamorous, but in reality, it consisted of a rental car, motels, and my mom and I pretending to have loud mother-daughter fights with each other during boarding so no one would want the empty seat between us on Southwest.
Oh, I know the struggle of the Southwest flights. This sounds like a pun, but all too well, just because living in the South, that is the major airline, and it's really nice that you don't have assigned seats, but at the same time, if you don't do the boarding correctly, there is no guarantee that you're ever going to sit even remotely near the person that you're coming with.
As a kid, I always thought I would go away to college, imagining the posters I would hang on the wall of my freshman dorm. I even set the ending of my music video for my song Love Story at my fantasy imaginary college, where I meet a male model reading a book on the grass, and with one single glance, we realized we had been in love in our past lives. Which is exactly what you guys all experienced at some point in the last 4 years, right?
Oh yeah, that is exactly how dating works. Like that is, I don't see anything that's not correct there.
But I really can't complain about not having a normal college experience to you, because you went to NYU during a global pandemic.
Oh, true.
Being essentially locked into your dorms and having to do classes over Zoom. Everyone in college during normal times stresses about test scores. But on top of that, you also had to pass like 1,000 COVID tests. I imagine the idea of a normal college experience was all you wanted too. But in this case, you and I both learned that you don't always get all the things in the bag that you selected from the menu in the delivery service that is life. You get what you get. And as I would like to say to you, wholeheartedly, you should be very proud of what you've done with it. Today.
See, okay, while I think that was a little corny about a delivery food item, I get that. But I do understand the message there too, and I think that's a really good way as like, you know, everyone, even outside of, I know she was talking about the pandemic and circumstances that are outside of your control, and I think of other ways outside of the pandemic of just in general of like people with different resources and backgrounds. I think a big thing about college is that you don't know where people have come from, their story, their journeys. I mean, you could argue the same thing about, you know, undergrad, like, you know, high school and stuff like that. But to me, that's a little bit different because at least in the area that I live in, if you go to public school, it's all just based on, like, you know, where you live. It's not a different school. It's not a special school. It's not based on grades. It's not really based on anything financial. It's more, I would say that's a more even place for people to be. Like their backgrounds or circumstances don't as affect, but college is something very different because some people are here through, you know, the normal traditional loans that you take out. Some people are on scholarships. Some people are on federal grants because of other financial situations in their life. I just think it's interesting to hear, like I said, while a little corny, just that you're acknowledging that people come from different backgrounds and start off with different resources, and at the end of the day, whether you started 2 steps behind someone else or 2 steps ahead of someone, you're still all sitting in here with the accomplishment that you did graduate and made it to your goal. Like, everyone started at different places in that line but ended up in the same place at the end of the day. And I think that's a really cool feeling to have, because while I think everyone would be proud of their own situations, you know, some people get to sit back and look at all of the things that they, you know, the struggles, the hurdles that they've gone through to end up in the same place. I would argue a little bit, I say argue, but I would also say that's a little bit more about, like what she said, the delivery service of life, I guess, too, just because, you know, same thing with life. At the end of the day, it sounds a little bit morbid, but we're all going to be in the ground one day, and no matter what circumstances you might have had over the other person or resources, you kind of just have to, while there's obviously strides to be more equality on the things that you can't control, of course, but, you know, at the end of the day, when you look at the resources that you have and you make the best with what you've been afforded in your life that are outside of your control. Because at the end of the day, you're all going to end up in the same place. So does it really matter about circumstances that you didn't get afforded? So I don't know, I just think I definitely understand what she means. It's like, sometimes when the things that are outside of your control, it's what you do with the resources that you get, or it's what you do with the situation that you've been put in, and that's really the true test of a person's character.
You leave New York University and then go out into the world searching what's next. And so will I. So as a rule, I try not to give anyone unsolicited advice.
Same.
Unless they ask for it.
Same.
I'll go into this more later. I guess I have been officially solicited in this situation to impart whatever wisdom I might have to tell you things that have helped me so far in my life. Please bear in mind that I in no way feel qualified to tell you what to do. You've worked and struggled and sacrificed and studied and dreamed your way here today. And so, you know what you're doing. You'll do things differently than I did them, and for different reasons.
That's kind of what I just said.
So I won't tell you what to do, because no one likes that. I will, however, give you some life hacks I wish I knew when I was starting out my dreams of a career and navigating life, love, pressure, choices, shame, hope, and friendship. The first of which is, life can be heavy, especially if you try to carry it all at once. Part of growing up and moving into new chapters of your life is about catch and release. What I mean by that is knowing what things to keep and what things to release. You can't carry all things, all grudges, all updates on your ex, all enviable promotions your school bully got at the hedge fund his uncle started.
That reminds me of the Evermore song where she's like, 20 years at your job, then the son of the boss got the spot that was yours.
Decide what is yours to hold and let the rest go. Oftentimes, the good things in your life are lighter anyway, so there's more room for them.
So true.
One toxic relationship can outweigh so many wonderful, simple joys. You get to pick what your life has time and room for.
That is like the perfect way of what I would say is like, and it's not just a coincidence that we did just do the Lover album, but you know, at the end of Lover in Daylight, and I might be a little bit misquoted on the actual quote, but it was something along the lines that with her voice memo that she says that she no longer wants to carry those things. It's almost exactly what she's saying here, that she doesn't want to carry the things that define her, that she's scared of, or like that haunt her. She says like, you are what you love. And I would assume that that's what she means by that, and saying like, you carry the lighter things, you carry the love that you have for your family, you carry the love that you have in your relationships and the things that you've been happy for. Like things with I forgot you existed. It's like, I've been carrying these things that shouldn't matter to me anymore, because again, it's just like she said, it's weighing you down, constantly thinking about what happened before, what situations couldn't control then, but maybe I can fix now. It's not worth it. So like with her saying like catch and release, it's like, decide the things that essentially want to define you. Like, what if you only had elevator pitch, I don't know if anyone knows that, but it might be a common phrase, it might not be. I did it in business school, but they call it elevator pitches, where you know, it's like you have 45 seconds to sell someone on something. And that's what I would feel like you would think about with this catch and release. It's like, what are the things that you would want to talk about to someone in those 45 seconds that describe you as a person that you love and the things that you enjoy? And I can guarantee not one of those things in those 45 seconds would be anything, like she said, while jokey, like the toxic relationships or the struggles or whatever you want to say. While I do think like things like struggles make stories more, it has more passion behind it, just so you can see where someone came from. But at the same time, like most of the time you want to reflect on the accomplishments and the things that you've done. So I think that's a really cool way of saying that.
Secondly, learn to live alongside cringe.
Okay. I mean, true also.
No matter how hard you try to avoid being cringe, you will look back on your life and cringe retrospectively.
I mean, true. I have done that definitely before.
Cringe is unavoidable over a lifetime. Even the term cringe might someday be deemed
I feel like
cringe.
It's almost a little cringe to say cringe.
I promise you, you're probably doing or wearing something right now that you will look back on later and find revolting and hilarious. You can't avoid it, so don't try to. For example, I had a phase where, for the entirety of 2012, I dressed like a 1950s housewife. But you know what? I was having fun. Trends and phases are fun. Looking back and laughing is fun. And while we're talking about things that make us squirm, but really shouldn't, I'd like to say I'm a big advocate for not hiding your enthusiasm for things.
True.
It seems to me that there is a false stigma around eagerness in our culture of unbothered ambivalence. This outlook perpetuates the idea that it's not cool to want it, that people who don't try are fundamentally more chic than people who do. And I wouldn't know, because I've been a lot of things, but I've never been an expert on chic. But I'm the one who's up here, so you have to listen to me when I say this. Never be ashamed of trying.
Yes.
Effortlessness is a myth. The people who wanted it the least were the ones I wanted to date and be friends with in high school. The people who want it the most are the people I now hire to work for my company.
I mean, it's true. I mean, I do think, in my opinion, there is work hard, play hard. I do think that, because, you know, I even think back to people in my high school and like people that wanted it. I was never a person that would bully someone for that, but I would say that I wasn't the hugest go-getter either. I wasn't like the one that was trying to be effortless in certain things, but I do think there were people in my life that at a point in time, maybe wrong for saying this, but like I did think that there were people that was like, actually I was wrong the whole time, but sometimes the people that were, you know, studying super hard in high school and all of these things, granted, and like I thought at the time, I was like, why are we trying so hard? Like at the end of the day, if you're gonna go to college, you're gonna get, like, I was more of a, not shaming someone for trying hard, I'm just more of a thing like, things will fall into place if it's meant to be. I'm not like super superstitious. I do think that hard work absolutely gets you to where you need to, but in my head I'm like, you know, I'm an A-B student. Could I be an A student? Of course, but I know, and that's just me. Like, I had a realistic college dream. I knew kind of I wanted to go to business school. I knew that I could get into the college that I wanted to based on my grades. So, was I the biggest go-getter, try-hard? No, I wasn't, but I can get what she means in saying, like, it's not cool to make people feel bad for the things that they're excited for, because at the end of the day, that person that I might have perceived as a go-getter or doing too much are the ones that are probably like a doctor or something that I think everyone has an important role in life. Like, you know, I'm not saying like a business person, you're gonna need business people, but you know, the people that have done different things with their lives, it's because that everyone has different goals. And if you should never, I think the end of the day, like, you should never just compare yourself to anyone else, because everyone's going to have different goals and the things, and they know what's going to take them to get there. Because like I said, I knew my exact intentions, so I knew my goals, and I, you know, worked for those goals. Because at the same time, I'm saying I noticed some go-getters. Someone might have perceived me as one as well, because like I said, I was a good student, and like there was probably someone that was doing a little bit less than I was, thinking like, what is this dude doing? You know? So I definitely think it's just like your biggest enemy is comparison to others.
I started writing songs when I was 12, and since then, it's been the compass guiding my life, and in turn, my life guided my writing. Everything I do is just an extension of my writing, whether it's directing videos or a short film, creating the visuals for a tour, or standing on a stage performing. Everything is connected by my love of the craft, the thrill of working through ideas and narrowing them down and polishing it all up in the end, editing, waking up in the middle of the night, throwing out the old idea because you just thought of a newer, better one, or a plot device that ties the whole thing together. There's a reason they call it a hook. Sometimes a string of words just ensnares me, and I can't focus on anything until it's been recorded or written down. As a songwriter, I've never been able to sit still or stay in one creative place for too long. I've made and released 11 albums, and in the process, I've switched genre from country to pop to alternative to folk. And this might sound like a very songwriter-centric line of discussion, but in a way, I really do think we are all writers. And most of us write in a different voice for different situations. You write differently in your Instagram stories than you do your senior thesis. You send a different type of email to your boss than you do your best friend from home. We are all literary chameleons, and I think it's fascinating. It's just a continuation of the idea that we are so many things all the time.
Yeah.
And I know it can be really overwhelming figuring out who to be and when. Who you are now and how to act in order to get where you want to go. I have some good news. It's totally up to you. I have some terrifying news. It's totally up to you. I said to you earlier that I don't ever offer advice unless someone asks me for it, and now I'll tell you why. As a person who started my very public career at the age of 15, it came with a price. And that price was years of unsolicited advice. Being the youngest person in every room for over a decade meant that I was constantly being issued warnings from older members of the music industry, media, interviewers, executives, and this advice often presented itself as thinly veiled warnings. See, I was a teenager at a time when our society was absolutely obsessed with the idea of having perfect young female role model.
Okay, I think I see where she's going to be going with this. But before we get too far into that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about what she said before about literary chameleons, I think she said, and just how we are always on, always being judged in a way where you always have to put on a different persona. And I think it's interesting to hear that, because sometimes I even wonder what is the true, and maybe that's just a me thought, but like, what is the true version of yourself? Because like she said, you're different with the people that you are at work. You're different with the people that you're at school. You're different than the person that you're with when you're with your family. And same thing with friends. Like, I'm not saying you're drastically different in every situation, but I do think, like she said, there are different versions of yourself. And I'd like to think that the one that you're around with the people that you're most comfortable with is the true version of yourself. But sometimes I even think that there's some sort of facade, even with the people that you're closest with. I think the only way to really know the person that you are is when you're alone. And it's not meant to like go through life alone. It's just more like, I think you know the person that you are the most when you're in situations that you're going through by yourself. Because I think I would be more open to changing my opinions or my mind about certain things when I'm talking to someone that I really trust. Like if I'm telling a situation to my mom or my best friend, I'm going to be open to their advice because I trust them. And I think they can lead you into great places. Like Taylor Swift mentioned earlier, it takes a community for so many things. But if I talk it out with someone and come to a decision based on the advice that they gave me, is that the true me? I'm not sure, because like if I wouldn't have made that decision at my own, with my own like cognizance, like I would think like, I don't know. I just think you're so influenced by the people that you're around, so it's hard to ever really know, to me at least, like who are you actually? And I know that sounds like really weird and quintessential. It's not my place to be on this YouTube channel to start questioning and pondering life's questions, but it does make you think of like, who are you actually?
It felt like every interview I did included slight barbs by the interviewer about me one day running off the rails. And that meant a different thing to every person who said it to me. So I became a young adult while being fed the message that if I didn't make any mistakes, all the children of America would grow up to be perfect angels. However, if I did slip up, the entire earth would fall off its axis, and it would be entirely my fault.
That's just insane amount of pressure.
Pop star jail forever and ever. It was all centered around the idea that mistakes equal failure.
And it's not true.
The loss of any chance at a happy or rewarding life. This has not been my experience. My experience has been that my mistakes led to the best things in my life. And being embarrassed when you mess up, it's part of the human experience.
It really is.
Getting back up, dusting yourself off, and seeing who still wants to hang out with you afterward and laugh about it, that's a gift. The times I was told no, or wasn't included, wasn't chosen, didn't win, didn't make the cut, looking back, it really feels like those moments were as important, if not more crucial, than the moments I was told yes. Not being invited.
I love that. I love that because of the message that she said earlier about, you know, carry the things that make you lighter. Don't carry the negativity. And I think what she's trying to say here, and I don't want to speak for her, of course, but, you know, you find negativity, and there are negative things in everyone's life, but like she's saying, the mistakes are what led her to the greatest things. So when you're deciding what to catch and release, do you hold on to, you know, the mistake that you made, and like what was something positive that came out of the mistake? Like you said, you found out who your real friends are in some situations, so you can release what prompted you to lose all of your fake friends, all the hard times that you went through that, you know, caused that, and you just hold on to the fact that you're now in a situation where you are confident that the people around you are the ones that want to be around you. And I think that can be used in so many more examples. That's just the one that she used, but it's almost like taking the things that, you know, pushed you to grow are the things that are going to be the ones that are going to define you later on. Because honestly, like she said, the amount of times, if you're a person that's always been told yes, and granted, there might be some of those people out there that just always make the right decisions. I don't know them. I'm not one of them. But the times that you've never been challenged makes you question how much would you ever fight for something in the future. Because if you're always there, and everything's kind of handed to you in a sense, like when that does inevitably happen, are you going to have the fight in order to fight for what you want when you've never been told no in the first place?
To the parties and sleepovers in my hometown, made me feel hopelessly lonely. But because I felt alone, I would sit in my room and write the songs that
Yes,
would give
that's
me
it.
a
Catch
ticket somewhere else.
Catch the songwriting release
Having
while you were
label
alone.
executives in Nashville tell me that only 35-year-old housewives listen to country music, and there was no place for a 13-year-old on their roster, made me cry in the car on the way home. But then I'd post my songs on my MySpace. And yes, MySpace. And I would message with other teenagers like me who loved country music, but just didn't have anyone singing from their perspective. Having journalists write in-depth, oftentimes critical pieces about who they perceived me to be made me feel like I was living in some weird simulation. But it also made me look inward to learn about who I actually am. Having the world treat my love life like a spectator sport in which I lose every single game.
The Hunger Games.
It's not a great way to date in my teens and 20s. But it taught me to protect my private life fiercely. Being publicly humiliated over and over again at a young age was excruciatingly painful, but it forced me to devalue the ridiculous notion of minute-by-minute, ever-fluctuating social relevance and likability.
See, I agree with what she's saying there, and maybe this is recency bias knowing that she's in a different situation currently with her relationships, but I think there's a balance there. I think that you do have to protect your peace in a lot of ways. We'll never experience the same way that she has to protect her peace because we're never in her situation, of course, but I do think it comes with the balance of there are certain aspects of your life that deserve to be private and should be private, but it's also not lock and key. You don't have to hide your life away, because I think someone had told me to react to it anyway, but I looked a little bit into her time person of the year, and she said something that she felt like she was in jail. I might be misquoting it, but like had the last 6 years of her life, I felt like she was locked indoors. Outside of the pandemic, it was just like she had that feeling, and I think maybe this is a couple years ago now. I mean, 2022 isn't that long ago, but I think there is a nice balance of not caring what people think, but also not being so divulged on the other side where you can't even be acceptable to others, you know? Don't lock yourself away because you're afraid of the opinions of others. Because to me, that's not really, that's not really like avoiding or not caring. I don't think that's not caring, that's you ignoring it. And maybe you could say that's not caring, but you clearly still care because you're hiding. If you really didn't care, I think you would still have that balance, and just being okay that the people are gonna talk.
Getting canceled on the internet and nearly losing my career gave me an excellent knowledge of all the types of wine.
Okay.
I know I sound like a consummate optimist, but I'm really not. I lose perspective all the time. Sometimes everything just feels completely pointless. I know the pressure of living your life through the lens of perfectionism. And I know that I'm talking to a group of perfectionists because you are here today graduating from NYU. So this might be hard for you to hear. In your life, you will inevitably misspeak, trust the wrong person, underreact, overreact.
You're not perfect.
People who didn't deserve it, overthink, not think at all, self-sabotage, create a reality where only your experience exists, ruin perfectly good moments for yourself and others, deny any wrongdoing, not take the steps to make it right, feel very guilty, let the guilt eat at you, hit rock bottom, finally address the pain you caused, try to do better next time, rinse, repeat. And I'm not gonna lie, these mistakes will cause you to lose things. I'm trying to tell you that losing things doesn't just mean losing. A lot of the time, when we lose things, we gain things too.
This feels like she's reiterating the catch and release to me.
Now you leave the structure and framework of school and chart your own path. Every choice you make leads to the next choice, which leads to the next. And I know it's hard to know which path to take. There will be times in life where you need to stand up for yourself. Times when the right thing is actually to back down and apologize.
Ooh, that's like the other Evermore
Times
song.
when the right thing is to fight.
Sometimes giving up is It's time to go.
Times when the right thing is to run.
Yep.
Times to hold on with all you have. And times to let go with grace.
True.
Sometimes the right thing to do is to throw out the old schools of thought in the name of progress and reform. Sometimes the right thing to do is to sit and listen to the wisdom of those who have come before us. How will you know?
Or I will also say to the people that has come after us, because I do think there is a major respect for your elders and people that have had more experience in your life, but I also think that doesn't devalue people who are newer to things and have their own perspectives, because not to get on a tangent, but that's something that I experience in my job where I'm younger. I'm not saying I'm the youngest person, but I am on the younger side. So when you are in a room, like what she said, when you're the youngest person in the room for a decade, you do have this thing where I do find there is a difference in respect in younger people. And it's not to say that all young people or anyone in a similar situation to me should always get the forefront of respect. That comes with earning it. I believe that, but I do think that sometimes in certain situations, I could have the exact same idea as someone 20 years older than me, and if they say it, you know, it's a great idea, but if I say it, it's like, you're a little naive. So I definitely think that, like I said, everyone earns the respect that they get, but they should also have some sort of respect that no matter what your age is, you can bring great ideas to the table.
What the right choice is in these crucial moments. You won't. How do I give advice to this many people about their life choices? I won't. The scary news is you're on your own now. But the cool news is you're on your own now.
That's kind of like You're on Your Own Kid, which was that out at this time? May 18th, 2022? So no, that wouldn't have been out. So I guess no one would have known that reference then.
I leave you with this. We are led by our gut instincts, our intuition, our desires and fears, our scars and our dreams. And you will screw it up sometimes. So will I. And when I do, you will most likely read about it on the internet. Anyway, hard things will happen to us. We will recover. We will learn from it. We will grow more resilient because of it.
Yes.
And as long as we are fortunate enough to be breathing, we will breathe in, breathe through, breathe deep.
Oh, I love that.
Breathe out. And I am a doctor now, so I know how breathing works. I hope you know how proud I am to share this day with you. We're doing this together, so let's just keep dancing like we're the class of 22.
Wow. What a great speech. I think there was a lot of genuinely useful information, but I love that she never went super specific with it, because I think there's two reasons for that. Is that you want to keep it generic so it can apply to the most people's situations, but I think it's also because she's coming from a place where she said that she didn't like when people were overly averting giving her life advice when, you know, she can make her own decisions and trust her own instincts. So I think her giving some, just like she worded it, like life hacks. It's like, take with what you want with this information, but I can tell you that maybe one day you'll look back and think like these things were helpful. So I definitely think that it had a lot of impact. It was very, even though I wasn't a graduate, it was very thought-provoking for me, so I hope that's how you interpret it as well. I do think that it had its moments where it was a little bit more on the corny side, but I think that's the perfect balance of not taking itself too seriously. So honestly, nothing bad to say about this. I think this was really great. I think she did the best with what she had, because like I said, she went into the situation, not saying not qualified for a doctorate, but, you know, not had any of the same experiences that any of the people in that room had. So to come in that circumstance and give such a great advice, even though you're not the most relatable person to the situation, nothing but applause for you, honestly. But thank you so much for watching this video. I know this was a little bit more, I don't want to say boring, but it's a little bit more on the nuanced side, I guess, of my content. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think. And I just want to say, I do believe everything I said in this video, and I don't think anything should have come off badly. But if you're watching this and you notice anything that I might have misspoke about, I apologize for that. I think that, you know, everyone is entitled to those opinions too. So please, like I said, let me know what you think, but I hope that nothing that I said came off offensive to you. It's not meant in that way. So just thank you again. And if, like I said, if you're interested in the Patreon version, we're going to go transition into Whiplash and go listen to Need. So if you're interested in that, check it out. If not, I'll see you in our next video.